Company Limited. Indeed, the show is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA, and our media partner is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. If you want to have a grasp of all that transpired on the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on the show tonight. We are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are streaming live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema, and on YouTube, we are live at Eye on Port. Eye on Port. Indeed, we shall be getting interactive with you, and all you have to do is send us your messages and comments via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559019177. 0559019177. At appropriate time, we shall share them with the rest of the world and seek answers for you. And indeed, we shall also be getting interactive with you. So at some point, when I pick signals from the production team that the time is ripe, we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with the show. Please do stay with us.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, you're welcome back. It's now time for us to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. And indeed, in the course of the week, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority received some commendation after its collaboration with the WCAPS project. And indeed, the Goyle family had cause to say painful farewell to one of its officials, and the person of the Reverend Alex Adziu, who was the Chief Operating Officer for Goyle PLC. Let's take a look at these stories and more.
The WCAPS project, financed by the European Union and implemented by Expertise France, is a technical assistance project committed to strengthening the security and safety of port infrastructure in West and Central Africa. The WCAPS project in Ghana has ended after 4 years of strong collaboration between the WCAPS team and the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority in key capacity building projects such as crisis management. To this end, the WCAPS team over the week paid a conclusive visit to management of the ports of Tema and Takoradi to review the capacity building project. During the meeting, the director of the port of Tema, Sandra Opoku, expressed GPHA's resolve to ensure that vessels that ply their trade in the port are safe.
We all know what is happening in the Gulf of Guinea. Some reportages going on, that is not right though, but as far as Ghana is concerned, we ensure that our waters are safe for the vessels coming in to ply their trade, and we'll continue with that. We have a very good collaboration with the Ghana Navy and the Marine Police, and we still do the patrols around the operators, so we'll continue with that.
The harbour master at the port of Tema, Captain Francis Kwesi Micah, also indicated that the authority is keen on advancing its security and safety procedures for smooth maritime operations.
And that by the aptness to be able to identify a growing threat as far as cyber security is concerned. It's something that even the big guns really suffer from. But important thing is to know and to be trained or to be exposed into getting the key areas that once it starts coming up, you should be able to identify and be able to counter. That for me is a very big plus that we need to upend. And GPHA management, corporate-wise, and then the board, I believe, are all up to support this drive because the consequences are quite hard to die.
The team lead for the WCAPS project, Nico Vitongen, gave his remarks.
The key takeaways would be that I think on the security level, Ghana is already on a high standard, so we could only pinpoint in a few things that could be improved, but to keep up the good level. For the port safety, there is of course the risk analysis to be done. What are dangerous goods in and around the port? Are all stakeholders aware of what's going on, and what is the reaction force to intervene in the case of an incident? So we really worked on those procedures and on working together between different stakeholders in the safety field.
Over the past week, the Goyle family paid their last respect to Reverend Alex Josiah Adziu, the Chief Operating Officer of Goyle PLC, whose painful demise occurred on the 13th of March 2023. Past and present chief executives, board members, management, staff and stakeholders of Goyle on Thursday, April 20, joined family and friends for the final funeral rites of Alex Adziu in a solemn ceremony at the forecourt of the State House in Accra.
If today Goyle PLC is thriving, one person whose name will be written in gold is Reverend Alex Adziu. He was humble, knowledgeable, a workaholic who gave his all to God.
We moved Goyle from a distant number 3 to number 1 oil marketing company within the same period, winning all kinds of accolades and awards. Yes, it was teamwork involving many astute professionals sourced internally to change the face of Goyle. But Alex was at the heart of it all.
Until his demise, Alex Adziu was the first and only Chief Operating Officer of Goyle PLC. Other roles served during his 31 years of service to Goyle include a Senior Sales Engineer, Head of Technical and Special Products, lubricants and LPG marketing manager, among others. It was during his tenure as the fuels marketing manager that the company underwent a successful rebranding campaign. He was an integral part of that period, which witnessed a phenomenal growth in fuel sales and volumes. A mechanical engineer by profession, Alex Axiu is adored for his hard work, commitment to the GOIL brand, versatility and humility.
So the board, management, the staff, stakeholders of GOIL want to use this unique opportunity to thank God as the first oil marketing company and express our deepest gratitude to God.
Welcome back. We are now going for some international port and maritime news.
The Long Beach City Council has passed the Ship It Zero resolution, which calls on top maritime importers to adopt emissions-reducing technologies and make port calls to the San Pedro Port Complex on zero-carbon ships by 2030. This resolution brings together the city councils governing the U.S. largest ports, Los Angeles and Long Beach, in an effort to reduce pollution in the surrounding communities. According to Daniel Hedari, the climate campaign manager for advocacy, Pacific Environment, fossil-fueled shipping contaminates the community and has contributed up to 8 years shorter life expectancy. As home to the largest ports in the nation, Los Angeles County receives 40% of all containerized cargo imports to the United States coming through the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, making the surrounding communities particularly vulnerable to deadly pollutants. On Tuesday, April 20, a team hired by Okaloosa County in the U.S. sank a vessel off the coast of Destin Fort Walton Beach, Florida. The reefed vessel will provide artificial habitat for fish and marine life on the bottom, creating ecosystem benefits and new attractions for anglers and divers. The Okaloosa County Coastal Resource Team with Destin Fort Walton Beach Tourism sank the 100-foot vessel RMS Cyclops at a position about 4 nautical miles to the southeast of Destin East Pass, sending her below in about 70 feet of water. According to the county, this was the first reefing in the area in 20 years. Local officials plan further sinkings in the future, subject to appropriate state and federal permitting approvals. Florida has an active artificial reef program and encourages localities to sink decommissioned vessels in appropriate sites for the creation of marine habitat. The state provides financial and technical assistance to local partners to support reefing projects and has spent more than $25 million on these initiatives to date. The Florida Division of Marine Fisheries maintains a catalog of no fewer than 4,000 artificial reef sites, including the carrier USS Oriskany, the largest intentionally reefed vessel in the world.
All right, so those were some international port and shipping news. We're now going for the phrase or word of the day. Remember, the phrase or word of the day has been fashioned to bring you up to speed with the jargons and terminologies we use in the shipping industry. And today's word is artificial reef. Artificial reef.
An artificial reef is a submerged structure deliberately placed on the seabed to mimic some functions of a natural reef, such as protecting, regenerating, concentrating, and/or enhancing populations of living marine resources.
All right, so You're welcome back. We're now zooming into our discussion proper tonight. And tonight we're asking a very simple question. There are calls for the establishment of a Blue Economy Authority. And this comes on the heels of a visit by the National Fisheries Association of Ghana to the presidency, where they made a suggestion to the president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for the establishment of a Blue Economy Authority. We want to interrogate the issues and find out whether this call is actually really justified. Because if you come to our current setting and the way things are done currently in terms of organizations or institutions, public, that deals with the blue economy, we are talking about the Ghana Maritime Authority, we have the Ghana Shippers Authority, we have the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and a host of others. I mean, we also have the Fisheries Commission that is there, and their roles are defined and their mandates are clearly spelled out for them. And so when we're calling for a Blue Economy Authority, we want to find out what exactly it is that we mean and what we want this particular authority to be clothed with. What mandate are they going to be clothed with, in terms of regulating this particular space? And so we have the privilege this evening of assembling a three-man panel to do justice to the topic. To my right is Mr. Rickster Ni Amafio, who is the Executive Director of the Blue Economy and Governance Consult. Blue Economy and Governance Consult. He's also the Secretary of the National Fisheries Association of Ghana. He's a big man. I saw him there in that picture of the president. He was standing just next to the president. And so when he came, I told him to bring me whatever goodies he brought from the presidency. And he gave me an answer which I wouldn't like to share on air. All right, to my left, far left is Mr. Ephraim Asari, who is the Vice President of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, CILT Ghana, in charge of maritime. Good evening, sir, and welcome. And to my immediate left is Mr. Kwabena Ofosu-Appiah. He is a senior fellow at the Center for International Maritime Affairs, Ghana, CIMAG. He's also a former president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. Mr. President, good evening and welcome. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Before we continue, let me go over the story, which basically deals with what you want to do at the presidency. It says the leadership of the National Fisheries Association of Ghana, NAFAG, has suggested to the government to give consideration to the establishment of a Blue Economy Authority in Ghana to act as the regulator of all entities carrying out economic activities in the country's water bodies. The group proposed the establishment of the authority Monday, 17 April 2023, when they paid a courtesy call on President Akufo-Addo at his office in the Jubilee House. According to the World Bank, the blue economy is the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods, and jobs while preserving the health of ocean ecosystem. The European Commission, on the other hand, defines the blue economy as all economic activities related to ocean, seas, and coasts. In his presentation, the leader of the delegation, Rickster Ni Amafio, acting secretary of NAFAG, observed that their industry is currently regulated by multiple ministries and agencies, even though their mother ministry is the Fisheries Ministry. According to Mr. Amafio, the vessels used for fishing in Ghana are the responsibility of the Ministry of Transport and the Ghana Maritime Authority, and the Ministry of Fisheries is responsible for their licensing, but all the processes leading to the issuance of licenses are regulated by different agencies. I also just quote that we probably look at a Blue Economy Authority because the blue economy is becoming an emerging issue, and those of us in the fishing industry are getting worried, especially with the influx of oil and gas activities. Our fear is that we do not manage, if we do not manage the blue economy as a common entity, we are likely to have a situation of conflict over space and usage. Mr. Amafio indicated, and the president actually said you should consult the ministry. He thought it was a good idea, good suggestion, and that the Ministry of Fisheries would take it up, and then we'll see. He actually almost nearly said yes, yeah, it's going to happen. And so we think it is very important for us to take a look at this particular topic tonight and discuss it and bring justice to it and see whether these calls are actually really justified. So let me start with you, since and this story is actually called from Asase Radio online. It's asaseradio.com, and it's by Joseph Appiah Dolphine, one of my colleagues when I used to be there in Asase Radio. So let me start with you. Why you think that is important for this Blue Economy Authority? Is it because you are coming from Blue Economy and Governance Consult? Rickster, yes. In this case, it's viewers. Yes. Your microphone, please. Yes. Yes. Please. Yeah. Sure. Okay. No, it's on now. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the issue of blue economy is an emerging issue, and the World Bank, the UN. And
let's see that our microphones are on, please.
And
sorry. Yeah,
and other international organizations are taking interest in what is happening with the blue economy. And we basically need to have an understanding of what the blue economy is. Yes, the ocean is blue, so basically when you say the blue economy, you are referring to the ocean and the resources therein, because you have both living and non-living resources in the ocean that are useful for our economy generally. Some people have extended the blue economy's definition beyond the ocean to inland water bodies, to even groundwater. So wherever you happen to find water, we try to classify them as being part of the blue economy.
Right.
And you would realize that it is about the biggest economy when you look at, even in Ghana, what we are doing now. You have, you mentioned Shippers Council, you have maritime transport, you have oil and gas, you have fishing, you have fiber optic cables, you have gas pipelines, and many other, you have tourism, and countless. You have other natural resources. Recently, we know that the name Elmina means a mine. And recently we found out that the people in Elmina even found gold along their coast. Ghana is called Gold Coast, which meant that gold was basically found on the coast. And so the ocean holds probably more resources than we currently have. Even when you were just seeing artificial reefs that were being sunk in some areas, you have seaweeds. In some jurisdictions, seaweeds are for food and medicinal purposes. And so the resources that you have in the ocean space are far more than just the oil and gas activities, the fishing and the fiber optic cable that you see. In order that everybody exists within this space, you need to now plan the use of your ocean space. And so you need to even start thinking about marine spatial planning.
Right.
Where you need to plan, and you don't just do this, you need to do a lot of research to be able to know how to even space your maritime space, so that you know where you have your maritime transport activities, you know where you would probably sink your gas or your oil rigs. You know.
Can you draw the microphone to you guys?
Yeah, you know where you sink your oil rigs and many of the economic activities that you need to do.
Right.
Those of us in the fishing industry, fishing is one of the natural resources that will be able to replenish itself when it's managed well. And so you would want to see fish that we have inherited live on for generations yet unborn.
Right.
Because activities like oil and gas are finite. And so if you don't manage your fisheries resources very well, you have a challenge. And that is also the most vulnerable of all the natural resources, because you can destroy your fishery in no time. The issue with the Gulf of Mexico, and still the people are living with the challenges that came with the oil spillage in the Gulf of Mexico. So you need to plan your ocean space and manage it. It will be difficult for one institution like Ghana Maritime Authority, for instance, to take charge of everything. You need to have a coordinating unit that would also be responsible for research and order, and in planning the use of the ocean space. And that informed the call for having something like a Blue Economy Authority that would be a coordinating unit of all the actors and players within the ocean space, so that we would be able to properly harness the resources and exploit them sustainably. And so that is what informed the call for the president to consider a Blue Economy Authority. That will be a coordinating unit, so that the many activities, even the mining activities that are happening in our inland water bodies, because, like I said, now we consider all water bodies. So if people are mining in inland water bodies, it also affects the blue space or the blue economy. And so you have a coordinating unit that's able to announce. And then we will be able to have full benefit of our ocean space. Remember, you know, the ocean under the United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Sea, or what we call the Constitution of the Ocean, we don't own the entire ocean, the entire space. We have up to 200 nautical miles to be our exclusive economic zone. And then the continental shelf can be extended by a further 150 nautical miles. So you have a continental shelf of up to 350 nautical miles with an EEZ of up to 200 nautical miles. That is the space where we can engage in economic activities.
Right.
So you need to plan it, and you need to make the best use of it. You can't just do things because we found oil here, we put rigs there. You may even have natural reefs in some areas that needed to be protected. You need to have protected areas, you need to have marine reserves. Even the hotels we build along our coast, you need to have a proper planning. Anytime I came onto this issue, I've said that I've traveled extensively by God's grace, but I come to Ghana and I see that we plan just to construct drains and channel them into natural water bodies, so that when I pour water from my house, it goes through the drain, through natural water body and into the ocean. You don't do that. You need to have a proper planning scheme with the Ministry of Local Government and the Ministry of Roads, Ministry of Works and Housing involved, as to how to redesign all our drains in order that we divert them away from natural water bodies, and then how to probably treat our waste and save our natural water body. We are just destroying everything. And that's why we believe that because you have a lot of ministries, you need some authority that will be involved or will be close with the power to do research, to advise probably the president directly, and to come up with a plan as to how to manage our ocean space and natural water bodies.
Right. So, first of all, you failed to tell us what necessitated your visit to the president's...
Well, we in the fishing industry we have a lot of challenges, and I have raised a number of them. For instance, in the tuna industry, the sector is gradually collapsing, and Ghana has an historical position within the tuna management. And I still will go back to international fisheries management. There are some fish species that are not managed locally. And tuna is one of such. Tuna by UNCLOS is a shared stock, a highly migratory species. So they are managed by international bodies. So tuna, for instance, is managed by ICAT. And so Ghana plays an important position within the scheme of ICAT. And
when it's on ICAT, what do you
International mean? Commission on the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas.
Okay.
And so Ghana is one of the 5 highest producers of tuna globally within the ICAT space. And so you need to look at how the situation is for us, and not just the tuna, the other sectors have challenges. And so we wrote to the president last year when he was meeting the various trade organizations, that, well, we are also here, we needed to be heard, because we're also faced with the challenges that came with COVID and other things, so that we would have some hearing on the challenges that the sector is facing that is leading to our collapse. For instance, we used not to pay duty on ship stores. Now we are paying between 25 and 35% duty on ship stores. Everything we buy in the port is in dollars. Even though we pay cedis, once the dollar goes up, even when we buy water, we pay in dollars. And so we think that some of these things needed to be heard by the president. Ghana is currently ratifying the Cape Town Agreement on fishing crew, and it comes with a lot of responsibilities. Meanwhile, we do not have training institutions that has the competencies to train our crew.
All right.
And we go to ratify an international agreement and we come to domesticate them and we would want to implement them. We need to have measures to ensure that we are also training our own so that it's not all the time Koreans and Chinese that are seen captain vessels and seen as engineers. We need to be able to develop our local capacity. And we believe that all these things needed
some attention from the president.
From Mr.
And so he created a venue for you to visit him and then lay them bare before him. All right. So when I come back, I'll find out from you what his response was when you made that proposition for the establishment of the Blue Economy Authority, so to speak.
Definitely.
But let me come to Mr. Ephraim Asari. You sit there as the Vice President of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport in charge of maritime. And so I'm sure you would have heard about this particular proposition from NAFAG for the creation of a Blue Economy Authority. When you first heard it, what came through your mind?
Really, we salute the proponents of this idea. Seriously speaking, the Blue Economy, we should have had that conversation long ago. It's long overdue.
Right.
Sometimes we underestimate some of this important agenda. It will be highly preposterous, totally reprehensible, vague, and naive to share this particular subject. The time to discuss it is now.
Right.
If you take 11,000 square kilometers, that is the water space for Ghana.
Right. 11,000
square kilometers.
Okay.
Is covered by water. So how do we obtain value from our ocean and water resources? We seem to be sitting on gold and money, and then we complain. This is not to say the authorities have not been doing anything, but there's a lot to be explored. So I will also extend the conversation beyond just the oceans. We have 550 kilometers of the coastline. That's huge. And the Atlantic Ocean, that's where it has its contact with the land. What are we doing? Have we explored this sufficiently? We have done something, but the answer is no. Let's take the water bodies. The Volta Basin alone,
right,
8,502 square kilometers of space, which is bordering Oti, Volta, Eastern, and the northern regions. It's lying there. You only see some few boats carrying passengers across and some little fishing, peasant fishing. This huge water body is lying there. Have we explored this sufficiently? The answer is no. If we take our rivers, the Tano Basin, Pra Basin, the four major rivers, Ankupra, Tano, Pra, the Volta and East tributary, the White and the Volta, the White Volta and the Black Volta, they are all lying there. How much have we explored of these water bodies, which is endowed for Ghana? We've done so little. And are we preserving the health of the ocean's ecosystem? That also, the answer is no. Living organisms, human beings, plants, animals, living in a geographical space, depending on each other for survival.
Right.
How seriously are we taking this? So gradually we are even killing the ecosystem. Can that be justified? We turn out graduates and scholars every now and then. They are taking various courses. And so how best are we using our resources, human and natural resources? So there must be an establishment of an entity like the Blue Economy to take care of these gaps.
Right.
There are already existing institutions, fine, they are playing their roles, but they cannot cover everything. We need to inject fresh idea, knowledgeable people who have skills and expertise in some of these areas to tackle the blue economic gaps.
Right.
And that can help the nation. In terms of transport, there's a lot to be done on these water bodies. Can't we put a boat to run on these rivers? Put depots at vantage points where farm produce can be picked by boats to bigger towns where access road is there and get to the market space earlier. The government cannot construct roads to every corner of the food producing areas.
Right.
And the rivers are there. And so water transport can help. And that will also enhance employment and rural-urban drift.
Right.
So you can see clearly that we just have to take some robust action. So I'm of the view that, yes, it is important we establish the Blue Economy Authority.
Okay.
And then tax with this agenda to deliver.
Right.
And most of the time, we tend to, when you overlap into another area as interference. I don't see it as interference. It's collaborative effort and complementing each other so that the various entities can meet from time to time to brainstorm, evaluate, and then we move forward. So to me, and from transport and logistics perspective, it's a laudable idea.
Absolutely.
We should embrace it, interrogate it further, and then we'll get the good results.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ephraim Asare. Let me come to Mr. Kwabena Ofosu-Appiah. Now, you sit here as a former president of the Ghana Institute of Trade Forwarders. You sit here also at one point in time, you sat on the board of the Ghana Maritime Authority, and you sit here also as a senior fellow of the Center for International Maritime Affairs, Ghana, CIMAG. And I am sure you would have followed this particular story when the proponents, that's NAFAG, went to the presidency and put forward this particular proposal to the president. And you also saw the response of the president at the time when they did that. I just want to find out from you whether you believe that the establishment of this particular authority, that's the Blue Economy Authority, if that is what it should be called, is the panacea or the catalyst that would propel us into harnessing the potential, the full potential of the blue economy of our country.
Thank you very much, Ken, and good evening to Mr. Sari and Ni. I think, if for nothing at all, the fact that this the conversation on blue economy has come up for discussion in itself is a good one.
Right.
A very, very good one, because like Nee said, it's an emerging conversation. We are catching on late, but it is better we get into it than sit on the fence. You see, listening to Mr. Sari, at the tail end of his introductory remarks, he talked of entities collaborating. Of course, he started it from not seeing this kind of manifestation as interfering. Okay? You see, but as a country, we have had a very checkered history of how we have grown, particularly when it comes to the establishment of stakeholder agencies that, so to speak, are expected to norm the atmosphere for our development. Right. Okay. Now, you realize that in 1991, VCRAC Crab, the eminent jurist, was tasked to revise our laws and consolidate them. See, the fallout of that exercise culminated into certain state institutions gaining authority status. Okay. Now, having gained the authority status, you realize that it came with varied degrees of legal entitlement. You know, some went for acts, they continued to get legislative instruments to back whatever interventions that they had to do in the space. Okay. Now, we, along the line, had created the ecosystem. But what we didn't do so well was properly auditing the legal mandates. Okay, so we had a lot of these state agencies, legal mandates crisscrossing each other. I'm sure that's what Mr. Sari was referring to. Now, then the state decided to wean them off the central fund. Okay? So you realize that there was a huge aspect of these entities' existence which depended on funding.
Yes.
They are internally generated funds.
Yeah.
And trust you me, they had to survive. Fees and charges regimes of these state agencies created a whole monster on its own. Okay? Now, where we should have collaborative efforts happening, some of them got entrenched. Okay? So here we come with this concept. Like I'm saying, if for nothing at all, very, very crucial that we are having this discussion today. You see, because the gold, we'll finish digging it in the soil. The oil, all these things will deplete. Experts are even telling us that even what we think has no end, even the fish stock, we can also deplete it if we do not take the fish out of the sea in a sustainable manner. Today, some part of the Caribbean, they have identified a phenomenon called the plastic island, which tells you see, the ocean moves in a circular, it moves circularly. So all the plastic waste, like Neil was saying, that we throw out and all of that, it has found itself creating a certain island somewhere, which makes it difficult for, if your vessel has to route through that space.
The navigation is difficult.
With these plastic island, you cannot route. You might have to go take a longer route circumventing this island. So everything that is happening in the space of the blue economy, as some people want to call it, everybody has a stake in there. You see, but we have had a certain experience, okay, on the ground with regards to state agencies and the good intention that probably underlies what they are supposed to do.
Right.
The political elites have a certain different understanding of these things. I mean, the technocrats might mean so well, but by the time it gets to implementation, I read the president's response to NI and COS, and one was that, I'm quoting the president, it's an important discussion and I think we should get on with it, because at the end of the day, if your suggestion is the one that makes sense, the ministry will have the ultimate responsibility. And then he goes on to say, engage the Ministry of Fisheries now and put the plans you think make sense before them, and let's develop the discussion. This is the president. Which means, I mean, like I'm saying, nobody will listen to the proponents of the blue economy and just wish it away. Okay? But having seen what has happened in the past and what is even happening today on the ground, because if you look at the blue economy, what it proposes is sustainability. There should be a certain balance.
Absolutely.
If we are not careful to come along with the balance on the ground, we might just come up with another authority with all the laudable ideas, but then in implementing or seeing it actually take effect, we might be faced with a paper tiger, just like a few of them that we have in place today.
Okay, so let me come to Richter. I told you when I come back, I'll find out from you what the response of the president was, but he just read it, what the president said. And like in my intro, I said he seems to buy into this particular idea. He says it was a good discussion and that you should perhaps go to the ministry and then speak with the ministry. If the ministry thinks that you are making sense, they will escalate it, and then we probably would be having a Blue Economy Authority. Do you think that those who believe that this would perhaps come and also be a duplication of what the rest are doing, like in my intro I mentioned the Ghana Maritime Authority, the Ghana Shippers Authority, which deals with the commercial side of shipping, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, which is supposed to provide the infrastructure for the receipt of cargo and all that. And you also mentioned that this particular, Blue Economy Authority, so to speak, should be some coordinating agency, not coordinate activities. Don't you think that if we rather perhaps streamlined the operations of the current, the existing ones, that would set the purpose for which you are calling for the establishment of the Blue Economy Authority?
Well, thank you. I think that we already have a turf war with all the various institutions. And interestingly,
we already have a turf war.
Yeah, we do. We may be lying to ourselves if we tell ourselves that we don't have a turf war.
With who?
Between the state agencies.
Okay.
Let's look at something. For instance, Fisheries Act 625, Section 93, requires that any activity other than fisheries, which may have a deleterious impact on the fishery resources in any water body in Ghana, should be preceded by a fisheries impact assessment. There's the Ghana EPA regulation 1999 that also requires you to conduct an environmental impact assessment.
Yes.
If you talk about the fisheries impact, EPA will tell you, well, the environmental impact assessment takes into consideration what the fisheries impact assessment should be. And that we write to Fisheries Commission to bring their technical people whilst we do the assessment of the environmental impact assessment, which may later be an environmental impact statement. Now, there are proponents for environmental and social, strategic environmental assessment, which now looks at a bigger picture beyond the environmental impact assessment. That will consider an entire area even before an activity may take place. Now, where lies the responsibility? When you talk to Maritime Authority, they will say, well, we are in charge of the entire maritime space because we are created to have control over all the activities within the maritime space. Then the Ghana Navy will tell you, we are in charge of security within the maritime space. And so when it comes to security issues, nobody, even if you bring vessels for fisheries law enforcement, it must be managed by the Ghana Navy. So even though the law has set up all these state institutions to play various roles, where there are supposed to be interfaces, it rather creates conflict. Now, and interestingly, when you go onto Fisheries Commission Board, for instance, you have read from EPA, Maritime Authority, Ghana Navy, all on the Fisheries Commission Board. If you go to Ghana Maritime Authority Board, you have read from Fisheries Commission, Ghana Navy, EPA on their board. If you go to EPA board, you have read from all these institutions on their boards. Yet we are unable to get to work together because the mandates are different. And everybody wants to protect their... Let me give you another example. There's the Regional Coordinating Council. The Regional Coordinating Council is necessarily very weak because it doesn't generate its own internal revenue.
Regional Coordinating, that's a Greater Accra Regional Coordinating.
I mean, for every region, you have a Regional Coordinating Council.
Yes.
Because its role is coordinating. So, for instance, if Tema has a general hospital close to Ashaiman, assuming Ashaiman also wants to build a hospital close to the motorway, it may be waste of resources because people around that area could easily cross over to, even though that is within the
general hospital.
So, at the Regional Coordinating Council, the Regional Coordinating Council is supposed to say, well, it is okay to build a hospital, but because of the proximity of the Tema General Hospital to Ashaiman, or where you want to build your hospital, it may be waste of resources because your people could easily come to Tema General Hospital when they are sick. You have a similar situation here, that you have various institutions and authorities that are doing various things within the ocean space. For instance, the Ministry of Energy grants permit for somebody to, or a company to do exploration in an area that is supposed to be very sensitive to fisheries activities. You may have a spawning area, or you may have a natural reef in that area. And then that activity may have to take place.
Right.
You know, exploration activity include what do you call it?
The word is not coming.
The word is not coming. But you need to release sound into the system to test the well, whether the well is empty or, and that's a very dangerous sound. You need to do a lot of study. You need to collaborate with the fisheries people. Between 2009 and 2021, we all saw about 21 whales, most of them hunchback, beaching along the coast. And finally, they told us that they had taken in a lot of plastic. That may be true, but that was the peak of our oil and gas activity as well. Could it be coincidental? Yeah, there were seismic surveys that were being conducted. Could it be coincidental? We also know that whales move by sound. Could it be that as a result of the seismic survey, they were disoriented? And so they came beaching. Recently, we saw some dolphin also coming to beach. What could have been the cause? So you need that collaboration in order that you do not, as a result of the activity of one institution, create challenges for the other natural resources that exist. You may find oil there are countries where they have oil in areas where they say, well, we are not exploring because these are areas that are rich with natural reefs, and so we would not exploit the oil. We would rather maintain the natural reefs and keep them for generations, because when we destroy them, we won't have them back again. So that's something that you need an authority, not just an authority that is also close with the requisite know-how to conduct research. We have a country that doesn't have a research vessel at all. When we wanted to go into oil exploration, we had to rely on the Norwegian Dr. Fridtjof Nansen vessel to come and do the initial surveys for us. And it went away. The last time Fridtjof Nansen was here I think it was in 2017. Till now, we've not had any research vessel conduct any research activity at all. And so you need to build a capacity of, if you don't even have various institutions having their own research vessel, you could have a Blue Economy Authority that has its research vessel, which will be available to various institutions to conduct their own research, and then everybody will be at the table to discuss that, is it possible for me to lay my pipelines here? What will be the impact on the benthic of the ocean?
How easy will it be for us to get a research vessel? Because the RMU has been clamoring for a research vessel for more than 20 years.
That's what I'm saying.
And that does not come
that's
through.
What I'm saying. Fisheries Commission has been calling for a research vessel. Probably Environmental Protection Agency may want to have a research vessel. You get it. So if you have Dr. Fridtjof Nansen vessel is one vessel that conducts research in many, many countries. So if we have one research vessel that is fit for purpose, and the various institutions, or at any research study, you have all the institutions having their reps on to be able to do what they would want to do, we will be able to get things done. So it shouldn't be an authority that is just throwing about its weight, saying, it should be a coordinating unit that is able to bring together all the various players within the blue space, and is able to work with them as a team. Because, like I indicated, if they all serve on the boards of each other, and yet we have issues even as at now, we have a long way to go. There should be a way of dealing with that situation. And one way of dealing with it is to recognize that that whole space, that huge space, is one economy. And that all of us are trying to survive within the economy, but the national interest is paramount. And so you need to have somebody who is coordinating at what point all of us can converge and put our issues out and agree to disagree, but finally make a decision that is best for the country. And to me, that's where we are coming from as well.
Okay. Let me come to Mr. Asari and find out from you. There are those who believe that there might be some duplication of rules, given the fact that, yes, you rightly alluded to the fact that, yes, there might be some duplication of rules with the current existing as it were, agencies that we have in the industry. I want to find out from you whether you think that this is something that actually will happen, or you think that we should strengthen the existing agencies and get them to do better, rather than entirely proposing a new authority altogether.
Yeah. So, in my view, I don't think we need to expand the existing establishments for the curiosity of our viewers.
Right.
Let me touch little on some of the existing establishments. If you take the Ghana Maritime Authority, they have a clear defined rules. They control and then license the boats that go to sea. They ensure good governance of safety of transport of goods by vessels. And so they inspect foreign vessels and make sure that they are seaworthy, and then they secure our marine borders, collaborating with the Navy and others. That role they have been playing effectively and efficiently. We have not seen the piracy issue too much on our coast. So they have been doing very well over there. That mandate should be okay for them to improve upon. If you take the Ghana Shippers Authority, they've been doing fantastic work from the days of Dr. Kofi Mbia to current Madam Bismarck Benedicta.
Yes.
They are doing so well. They educate freight forwarders. They make sure they levy the shipping lines and remit Ghana Maritime Authority. They sit down and take free money. So they've been doing that, organizing workshops and whatever for the shippers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good. They can now. They are even planning some outreach programs just to educate the shippers.
They have the regional shipper committees as well. They have the shipper complaints.
How cost effectively they can transact their businesses. So that mandate they are within. If we take the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, fantastic. The port, the way it was looking like 30 years back, is not the same. Tema Port now have new jetties.
Right.
Terminal 1 and 2 have super structures, ship-to-shore crane and all of that.
Right.
And now Terminal 3, MPS, is standing tall among African ports in terms of capacity. Takoradi Port is also building capacity strongly, multi-purpose terminal. The oil jetty in Takoradi is one of the best in West Africa, operated electronically. And soon with the container terminal, Atlantic terminal also coming on board, that port is also building capacity. And the onshore, on-dock facility is going to boost Ghana's, it is going to get us as a hub for transshipment. So GPHA is also working within its scope. They plan, build, develop, manage, maintain, and control all the ports. Can add the fishing ports also to it, apart from their social corporate responsibilities. So fine. But can they take on extra job? I think it should be no. They should concentrate these three entities, Shippers Authority, Maritime, and then GPHA. There were others also.
Right.
They should operate within their mandate. But the blue economy has to do more, has to go beyond these barriers and pick up the gaps. For instance, like we were saying, the coastal developments, my seniors just mentioned, how do you develop restaurants along the coast without taking care of some environmental consequences that will affect the ocean ecosystem? So the blue economy, the technocrats, academia, the research that will go into that establishment will take care of this nitty-gritty.
Right.
Which otherwise other establishments might not have maybe the financial muscle or the technical know-how to cover. So that the blue economy takes care of that. When we do that, then we can really be exploring what over the years we have not thought of.
Right.
And the earlier we do that, the more we delay, we set the law of diminishing returns for Ghana.
Right.
The best example of blue economy can be found in the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland.
Yeah.
They have the finest oceans. We can learn from them.
Right.
So that these huge water resources that we have, we can exploit and generate employment. Industry, in terms of tourism, is a great tourism material for the country.
Right.
The Odor River is there. It can be developed like the Thames in London. And then both do cruising. Anytime the diaspora festival come around,
yes,
you will see a lot if you interact with our friends from the Americas and Europe.
Yeah.
You will see that they have the money there to put around. But we have not developed sufficient tourism attractions.
Right.
And the water resources are there to help us do that. In some countries, they construct artificial rivers just to make sure that they diversify entertainment and those kind of things. Here we have all of them abound. And then we sit aloof. So I think that the blue economy can cure this potential gap.
Okay.
And then we'll set our researchers to work.
All right. We'll go for a break, but when we come back, Mr. Ofoswapia, I would want to find out from you. Undoubtedly, we have loopholes. We have lapses in the current existing agencies that we operate with. Don't you think that it would be imperative for us to fix these issues, ensure that they are effectively and efficiently running before we think about establishing an overarching or, an overall blue economy authority, if that is to come into fruition. This is our import here on Metropolitan Television, and tonight we're asking the simple question: whether calls for the establishment of a blue economy authority are justified. We're going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the discussion. Please do stay with us.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance. Oh, Ajima, tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so you're all come back. I've been told we can activate the phone lines now. The number to dial is 020-552-8353. 020-552-8353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. I will be coming to the mailbox pretty shortly to read some of your messages. But let me come to Mr. Kwabena Ofusu-Appiah and find out from you. I told you I was going to ask you, what do you think it's not important or proper for us to fix the challenges we have with the existing agencies in the sector or in the industry before we think of, coming up with a Blue Economy Authority, if it is to come into fruition?
Okay, you realize that earlier on I had mentioned the exercise that Professor Crabb did and its effect.
Yes.
Consolidating our laws, reviewing them, making the language more readable and all of that, and how we came to get all of these authorities and their legal mandates, So you realize that the United Nations Center for Trade Facilitation and Electronic Business, when it set out to create that kind of... I am coming up with this buy, ship, pay model because we must have a certain backbone to feed all of these stakeholders that affect international trade. Okay, for me, that is where I'm coming from, because the blue economy, or what we call the blue growth space, it is not a sit-alone activity. Yeah. It has to interact with other players in the industry. When he talked about theft war, it is real. Okay, so that when we look at the buy, ship, pay model,
right,
if we really are serious with this blue growth conversation that we have just started,
yes,
we shouldn't discount at all the joy killers on the ground as we speak now. Okay, because one, this has to be funded,
right,
and it is the same contributors who are contributing now who are wailing that they have been stretched. They are the same folks we are going to go to fund these kinds of bureaucracies that we are going to set up. You ask of what the way forward can be, an overarching arrangement and all of that. You see, after the legal mandates have been given, which gave rise to all these strong establishments, in establishing the buy, ship, pay model, the World Trade Organization, through the trade facilitation arrangement, realized that there was a gap that had to be filled, and that gap was the fact that the governance structure had to be set up. Okay, because you have created entities, you have given them legal mandates that are crisscrossing. We have not done any effective auditing of the legal mandates. So they all have their laws, they all have their legislation instruments backing them up. Okay, so how did UN and, for that matter, WTO intervene? It intervened by saying that, look, if you want to set up this kind of environment, you must have a governance structure. And the governance structure was actually laid. Some folks have followed it, and it's giving them wonderful outcome, returns. Rwanda can be cited, the Singaporeans have done the same thing. You see, the concept of the governance structure places authority at the very high level, the highest level, where you have, in certain instances, I know of the Rwanda situation, Paul Kagame himself sits on that structure. So that, like, they went to the president and gave him just a hint of what the blue economy. If you listen to Mr. Sari speak now, I'm sure if you were the president and he comes with all these juicy things that this blue growth comes along with, particularly in the situation in which we find ourselves in now. I mean, that's why I read you see, that's why I read what the president said. You see, but then what really makes it work is that if he now establishes that, you see, we were almost there. By the fall of 2017, we had the structure in place, but we just
in place for
the governance structure that looks at how activities around our maritime sector should be done. Okay, so that even if you have a very strong legal mandate which enjoins you to do ABC, which we want you to hold on to your turf. Can you imagine a situation where, and if you look at the structure, it's a structure that has the top level policy steering group. It is actually a UN arrangement. You have the policy steering group, then you have the trade facilitation secretariat, because all of this too is about trade facilitation. Okay, whilst we look at the money that it brings to the state. Then you have the high level management and strategy group. Then you have the various working groups. So at the top of this situation is a policy steering group. Where
I think that's showing on the screen now.
Where in so many instances you have either the president, the prime minister, or I mean, in somewhere in 2016, we used to have the chief of staff, who was here. You know, the idea is that once you launch out, people are going to hold on to their turfs. But if there is a structure that allows people to come back to ventilate difficulties that they are having on the ground, you could see that immediately orders will be issued.
Absolutely.
Even though you have your laws and all of that. I mean, can you imagine where you have the management and strategy group, which is made up of ministers? Okay, so that if the transport minister is there, the fisheries minister is there, the agric minister is there,
trade minister,
and there must be a movement. The laws that we have at the agency level is making the movement difficult. At this stage, when the case is made, you can see how movement can be facilitated if we have this structure in place. Okay, but if we don't do it, you see, in our part of the world, Ghana, I think we are in the League of Nations that have laws, I mean the highest laws per capita than any other nation. Because we believe that for every situation we must throw laws at it. But I think, you see, the paradigm that in which moving jurisdictions that are making strides today, they rather create an environment that we can negotiate. Okay, you see reason and you get things moving. That is how the Asian tigers have gotten out of, I mean, the poverty ring within which they used to be. Okay, so for me, it is not for nothing that the UN has suggested this structure. It has worked in places. If we really are serious about how we want to move this nation forward, particularly within our blue growth sector, what we are calling the blue economy sector, we need to just follow these things. It has been done elsewhere and it can be done here. Otherwise, I see the difficulty I foresee is that if we just say, oh, let's enact a law, an act, Blue Economy Act, trust you me, the turf wars that we are seeing today
will escalate.
I mean, we will still meet it in the future. Should we just go at it by saying laws are what is going? Probably we can start with negotiations when people have willingly relinquished certain holds because they have properly been come along. They have probably come along with the conversation. It will be easier than just, I mean, sweet talking. In this case, the president, he gives command that, look, the minister, get it done. We get it done, trust you me. We will be here probably in 3, 4, 5 years discussing what we...
inefficiencies of the Blue Economy Authority.
What we did wrong, yeah.
Right. All right, so this one says, my name is Francis. I agree with the call for the Blue Economy Authority, which will have the mandate to maximize the potential of the blue economy with the various sectors in mind. They should play the overarching role to coordinate the activities of the existing agencies and entities. In this case, all decisions will be taken with the entire ocean interest in focus. He says, thank you. Now, this one is, this fellow is watching on YouTube. His name is Alasan Karakara. He says, the blue economy possesses huge potential for growth and sustainable development. Thus, establishing an authority is a good step in the right direction. This one says, can the former GIF president speak on some of the theft wars he's speaking about? My name is Ben in Tema. All right, Ben wants you to tell us all the theft wars you're talking about, but I think that basically it's a general thing. That let me come to you, and I want to find out from you what form you think the Blue Economy Authority should take, what the constitution should be, who should constitute it, on whose money should it run. He made mention of the fact that, yes, once it comes into being, there will be ways and means of trying to get some cash, to make it run. Where is that money going to come from? I mean, these are some of the issues that are pertinent, that needs, answers.
Well, I'm not sure I can sit here and just give answers to. That's why we made a proposal. The president said we should start the discussion and probably get it escalated. From the top of my mind, for such an authority to have such power, you have to set it in the presidency. Because you'll be dealing with various state institutions, and so it must be in the presidency. And probably the chief of staff could chair such an authority. Because you are dealing with the entire ocean. You are dealing with something that is bigger than the land that we are dealing with. So that is just bad. But we would write to the minister probably before the end of the week on the issue of the blue economy and how we have to start it. I was prompted from the Norwegian embassy this morning that there's going to be from the office of the president, there's something on the SDG that is going to have a conference on the blue economy somewhere in May.
Right.
We are hoping that some of these issues will come up for discussions, and then we probably may get it expanded. I know that the University of Cape Coast, somewhere in November, will also hold a national conference on the blue economy. So there are already bits and pieces of discussions and conferences around the blue economy, except that we need to start aggregating all these things and start speaking towards having something that we can realize that is sustainable. And it looks like the talks are also outside the main institutions that are concerned, because you have a university yet, they will bring somebody from, or reps from all the ministries or all the agencies, will speak at the conference. But how do we sustain the discussion? And how do we start building blocks? Because in all this discussion, you will also need to have the legislature in there, because it will get to a point where the legislature become key in how to move the process forward. And you need to build capacity along the line, because you can't just discuss, hold seminars and workshops without building capacity, especially of the technical wings of the various institutions that are involved. Right. Because you need probably to have committed directors at the various ministries who probably would be at the table to discuss and to plan. And these are some of the things that should go into the planning process. So at the end of the day, whatever you come out with is acceptable to all the various players. And that is the angle from where we are thinking.
Okay, so let me take Mr. Asari. I'll just come to you for 1 minute, because we have barely 3 minutes to wrap up, and find out from you what a well-coordinated, transparent, and effective blue economy management will mean for the country as a whole.
Yes, it will mean a lot. I'll also subscribe to the fact that this authority should be under the auspices of the presidency because of the giants that are involved, that they don't flex their muscles unnecessarily. Even the WTO, there is a clause there that calls for review of sovereign laws that might align with the international whatever. If existing legislation or rules that govern the various entities, well, they could amend where there will be conflict of overlapping duties. It could be amended. Constitutions are even reviewed. So should the laws there governing the various entities be so static and that they are not flexible enough? That could be looked at.
I think it automatically amends. The latter in time amends the former law. So
exactly. So at the end of the day, I see a very vibrant entity operating, opening job avenues, and then stabilizing our currency.
Right. Okay. This one says, my name is, what was the take of the Fisheries Commission or the Fisheries Minister during the meeting with the President? They're asking Rista, there's this one from Aku in Medina.
Well, the President gave a directive, and so we need to start working on the directive. Then we'll know, because she takes instructions from the President. The President has given a directive. We have a duty. It's not just the fishing industry. All the stakeholders have a duty to ensure that once we are interested, we start talking to our various ministries. So probably we all should be talking about it, and just as we are doing here.
Okay. My name is Kofi Blay. Aren't there way too many authorities already in the country and sector? I don't think we need an authority, but we can have a blue economy ministry that whips everyone in line. It will cost less and will have more impact. Don't know if your resource persons agree. Do you agree?
Yeah, he's raised the notch. I mean, blue economy ministry. I mean, that makes interesting hearing. Okay, absolutely. Because if you look at the question that you just posed, the fisheries. I mean, blue economy is larger than fish and fish matters. Okay, and I'm sure Nia and Co will agree to this. So for me, this conversation, I mean, is very opportune because if you look at our land-linked neighbors, they are all jostling. I mean, and even our Benin, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, they are all jostling for position. So if there is such an opportunity and we fail to take it, they might just take it. So once the topic has come up and it is effective, I think we'll have to tackle it with all the effectiveness that it demands.
Absolutely.
Going forward.
All right, so that's how we draw the curtain on tonight or this week's edition of Iron Pod here on Metropolitan Television. I've been in the studios with Mr. Rista Ni Amafio, who is the Executive Director of the Blue Economy and Governance Consult, also Secretary of the National Fisheries Association of Ghana. Indeed, also in the studios has been Mr. Kwabena Ofosuapia, who is a Senior Fellow at the Center for International Maritime Affairs, Ghana, CIMAC, and also a former President of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. And indeed, Mr. Ephraim Asari, who is a Vice President in charge of maritime at the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, CILT, Ghana. I would like to say a very big thanks to our sponsors, Ghana Revenue Authority, GOIL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. We say the show is, as always, is powered by the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, and we entreat you to keep watching the rest of our programs here. The abridged version of Iron Pod will be aired on Ghana Television on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Make a date and watch that one. My name is Kennedy Mona. God willing, next week we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of Iron Pod. Good evening and have a super week ahead.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.